Sega.
It's mighty quiet around here.
In the laserdisc arcade game Time Traveler, you play the part of Marshall Graham, a Wild West cowboy sent through time to stop an evil scientist called Volcor from messing with the timeline and to rescue Princess Kyla from his clutches. You do this by beaming into various scenarios, then mostly shooting everybody. Subtle, this ain't. But the arcade game was mostly well known for its rather unique cabinet. First, we'll look at the original 1991 Laserdisc-based arcade version running in MAME. Next, we'll compare it to both of the year 2001 home releases by Digital Leisure. Firstly, we'll look at the DVD version, which can be played on a PC, and then the Windows-specific release in order to compare the two versions. The 1991 arcade original version was mostly known for the unique cabinet it was released in, which, by way of a curved mirror, projected the image from a hidden monitor into a play area which appeared to make the visuals float in space, in front of the player. I was lucky enough to play this back in the day, and it's an interesting effect. A collection of shaped blocks were added behind the play area in order to give the player something to judge depth by and exacerbate the hologram effect. The game itself was programmed by Virtual Image Productions, led by Rick Dyer, who previously was involved in the making of Dragon's Lair, a well-known cartoon-based laserdisc arcade game. So, that's the funky cabinet explained, but what was the game actually like? It begins with an introduction to the game by Princess Kyla.
Greetings, I am Kyla, Princess of the Galactic Federation,
Who explains all about Volcor and Marshall Graham. If you're wondering about the lines in the picture, this is due to the video being interlaced, an effect that worked in conjunction with CRT screens of the time to make the footage appear smoother, but on modern flat screens it looks a bit odd. MAME doesn't currently support deinterlacing, so you have to put up with the lines. The intro is then followed by a map of the timeline, before a classic 1990s saying.
Just remember, partner, winners don't use drugs.
And then, possibly the first Sega scream.
Sega!
The intro then repeats. The arcade original also featured an LCD display, giving instructions and showing the high score table. You can enable a replica of this inside MAME, as shown here, but I'm going to hide this as it's not part of the original game screen, and the home versions lack it. When you start the game, you can go left to learn how the game plays. Kyla will then take you through how the game works. Essentially, it's a quick timer event-based game where you have to move the joystick or fire at the right time in order to progress and not die.
get ready to turn right and shoot. Turn right, shoot!
When you start the game, you have time reversal cubes explained. You can use these to redo a scene should you die and not lose a life. The map is then shown, but it can randomise the order of locations per each game. You always begin in 1873, shooting various Wild West themed opponents. There is an element of randomness throughout the game, and you'll get a mix of scenes per each location. You'll have to complete each scene in order to complete that time zone. After this easy introduction, you can choose another year to play, or collect more time reversal cubes for real money from the trader.
That's all you can buy now. Come back later.
Let's go to 50,000 BC and fight some cavemen. I take a hit, so use a time reversal cube and retry the scene. Next we go to 2173 and jump over robots, duck some energy pulses, then shoot some guys who turn into rockets, obviously. 1998 is quite funny, given this was meant to be just 7 years after the game released. There are street punks, psychopaths, and zombies. I'm not sure why this one loops, I suspect a glitch in MAME. Next up, the devil offers you to play Hellgate. This can award or take away lives. The next location is a more mysterious magic time. with snake charmers and mildly inappropriate scenes.
Thank you.
Before an Arab attacks you. A choice of doors and a crossbow guy lead to a fire-throwing dude and the end of this stage. 1350 sees you fighting a mix of knights and ninjas, weirdly, but here I fail to understand what to do and run out of lives. There are some amusing moments in the arcade version. Here I ignore a talking brain and end up at the end of the universe.
Well, let's see now. What the?
Also, if you input a credit, then press both action buttons and move the joystick down on the title screen, it shows Rick Dyer and his son, whilst pushing up shows the production team. Now, enjoy a minute of this original version without me talking over the action.
Got the finest in the land, man.
Drugs can kill you, partner.
Hey,
In the year 2000, Digital Leisure created two home versions of Time Traveler that released in 2001. First, we'll look at the DVD version. Now, this isn't specifically a PC game, rather an interactive DVD, but it's good to have this as context before we look at the Windows PC version. The pictures here are of my own DVD copy. The DVD doesn't play well on modern PCs, and not even on some DVD players. Here I'm using Cyberlink Power DVD 23 to record the gameplay, as players like VLC tend to stop after the first interactive sequence. The DVD starts with a copyright message, Digital Leisure logo, details of who produced the DVD, and who helped with the 3D effect. This is followed by essentially an advert for the game.
Hologram, the time travel fantasy where you journey through the centuries on a perilous quest to rescue the beautiful princess and save the universe from the wrath of an evil Time Lord.
Weirdly, they call the game Hologram and not Time Traveler.
These challenges and more await you should you dare to enter the world of Hologram.
After this, you arrive at the main menu. Wait a bit longer and you'll see the Kyla introduction sequence from the arcade. Now, it's worth noting what they've changed here. Firstly, they've tilted the image so it resembles the arcade hologram effect a bit more, and they've added weird rotating shapes and a rather poor looking grid effect, neither of which were present in the arcade original, though it did have some fixed shapes to help with 3D depth. The other menu options allow you to watch most of the game and learn about its production. Here you can see the original arcade version in action.
It's called Time Traveler, and what makes it unique is that it's not animated. The characters are holograms. San Diego actors played the parts and became holograms in the game.
The final menu lets you view demos of other games Digital Leisure ported. When you start the game, you can choose a 3D version. This adds a pretty awful looking time tunnel effect, which, to be fair, does look semi-3D if you wear the included red and blue glasses. But the grid lines don't quite look 3D with the glasses. I'm using a deinterlace filter for this DVD footage, but it is possible to play it with interlacing enabled if you enjoy those little lines. When you start the game, you'll notice a diamond symbol appears when you can interact. Pressing a direction key shows you either a yellow arrow or a gun icon to show you made an input. Here you can also see the pauses when you make a choice. These occur on real DVD players and even on PlayStation 2. As well as here using an ISO rip running on the PC, so it's just how the DVD version plays, unfortunately. Much like the arcade, we start in 1873 with the same Wild West sequences. Some scenes look odd with the rotating shapes, such as how the teepees in the background sit strangely. Next up we go to the trader. Here you can just press the DVD OK or Enter key, and you can pick up 2 cubes.
Thank you.
Over to 50,000 BC to fight some women, as this game's equal opportunities. And now I get squished by a large lady. I use my time reversal cubes, which don't rewind the animation like in the arcade, but do let you retry the scene. Next up is 2173 and robot jumping, followed by a laser line to hop around on. Sparks attack, and then it skips on to me being shot for some reason, and the annoying wizard who gives advice.
You're out of time reversal cubes! Go see the trader!
After I pick up some more cubes, I head back to 50,000 BC and defeat the lover lady by shooting her and running away. Hellgate then appears. It appears at the end of every stage, unlike the arcade where it's more random.
Just pull the lever.
You won!
I win an extra life. Back to 2173 to redo the scenes I failed before. This weird head appears, which doesn't always happen in the arcade, before rocket men attack. Ignoring Hellgate, I get more cubes, then go to 1998. Instead of punks, it's zombies and ghosts. 1998 was wild.
Hope that moon don't cause no crazies to come out now.
The crazies then attack, and the moon looks very odd with the yellow triangle behind it. After choosing the green door, and avoiding more zombies, I complete the stage. I win at Hellgate again, then move to the magic zone. Here I fight a wizard who keeps turning into mushrooms. There's nothing trippy about that. And then a complex scene where you fight a wizard and lots of specific moves are required. After dying a few times, I move on to a sword in the stone section, then the flame-throwing guy. Moving on to 1350, I face up to a ninja who beats me into game over. Enjoy a minute of this version.
It's mighty quiet around here. Too quiet.
The knowledge of 1,000 centuries is mine. I know what you would seek.
Adios, amigo.
You fool! Holy cows! I don't believe this!
You're out of here!
Hey.
At the same time the DVD version released, a Windows native version was also produced. This uses much lower quality 320 by 240 pixel resolution video and runs in a small window. The window can be maximised to fill the screen, but then the aspect ratio is thrown off and the picture looks stretched. It has no true full screen mode, but here I've captured just the contents of the window and expanded it to full screen myself. Also, if you want to run this version, you'll need a virtual machine running Windows 95 or 98, as on XP and newer Windows you end up with multiple videos playing on top of each other, which is an unplayable mess. As you can see, the menu screen is pretty low quality owing to the low resolution. The 2 demos play here again, both the advert for the game, as well as the Kyla introduction. You can see how low resolution and low quality the video is by looking at the grid lines, or should I say grid pixels. This version does include the 3D time tunnel effect version too, but it looks so bad I'll skip it here, but we'll take a look on the pixel compare section in a minute. So again, it's 1873 and the same Wild West sequence. There's no pauses on this version though, and it also makes the same bleep and bloop sound effects that the arcade does when you press keys. The DVD version lacked that. The trader looks particularly low quality here. Let's do 50,000 BC first and fight the cavemen badly.
Pay attention! Timing is critical!
Now it's time to try and jump lava, and I use some time reversal cubes to replay this. Some more cavemen come up and I get burnt by a flying bird. So it's back to the trader and another pass at this stage. 2173 is next, with the robot jumping sequence pretty much always being the first scene. Then it's some laser jumping and game over. So I try again. This time we get a different second sequence in the Wild West, showing how the game can randomise things. 50,000 BC, and I have to fight some deadly girls first. More time reversal cubes are needed. Yep, these girls are dangerous. Eventually I exit the time zone and take part in Hellgate. It's amusing how red really doesn't compress well in this version. The devil looks like Lego. And I lose, which causes game over.
You lose!
But there's a bug here and I go back to the map instead of the main menu. So now I have infinite lives. After robots and the laser line, I get to dodge the coloured sparks and fail. Then I have to dodge some more sparks and fail. Over to 1998 now, and I take on some street punks with some time reversals. Then I turn up in a baseball match. And next I shoot some drug dealers, leading to this classic.
Drugs can kill you, partner.
Zombies attack, and I die. After playing through all the scenes I didn't complete, eventually I get to the magic era and fight the Mushroom Wizard. This is a bit confusing as the inputs aren't the same as the arcade. I take out the Arab attacker, go through a door, and get killed by a floating sword. So I go to 1350 and get beaten by one ninja, then another ninja, but the blue one I beat. After this I spent a long time being both beaten by ninjas and watching this death sequence over and over until I got bored. So here's a minute of this version without me talking over it.
Stay there! Oh, this is embarrassing. What the? Let's see here. Yeah. You must let me out of this lamp! What is it?
Your wish is my command.
Thank you. Oh, shoot.
Let's compare a couple of scenes on all three versions at the pixel level. First, here's Kyla's intro sequence on the original arcade. Wiping across to the DVD version, you can see how they angled the footage, as well as adding the grid and shapes. And wiping across to the Windows version, you can see how much worse it looks. Going back to the arcade, let's now wipe across to the 3D version on the DVD. You'll see that they didn't angle the footage here, though it is smaller than the arcade. You can also see how the time tunnel effect really doesn't play nicely with the background mountains. And wiping to the Windows version, you can see how the complex image is compressed into a pixelated mush. Next, here's the arcade original on the initial selection screen. You can see the interlacing lines present here. If I wipe across to the interlaced DVD version, you can see how it similarly shows the movement lines. Wiping across to the deinterlaced version tidies it up a lot. And the Windows version is super low quality, as before. Going back to the arcade again, let's wipe across to the 3D version, and you can see the interlacing only affects the moving content, not the time tunnel effect. And here it is deinterlaced, albeit a fraction of a second earlier. Finally, here's the Windows version. Yeah, it's safe to say don't play the 3D version of the Windows release. Let's compare the same sequences across all three versions. As I've shrunk the arcade version, the interlacing lines should be much less noticeable.
It's mighty quiet around here. It's mighty quiet around here.
Pay attention! Timing is critical!
Well, let's see now. What the? Well, let's see now.
Time Traveler was a unique and different experience in the arcade. If you come across one of these cabinets, it's worth a go just to see how cool the fake hologram effect is. In MAME it's somewhat less exciting, and currently has some odd looping and timing issues, but is playable. The DVD version is what many people will be familiar with, as the alternative laserdisc emulator Singe used this version for a long time, until the arcade version was ripped. I see what they were going for with the shapes and grid background, plus angling the image, but there might have been a more subtle way to do it. This version also pauses during gameplay, which makes it less fun to play, and lacks the sound effects for correct or incorrect actions. The Windows version is horribly low resolution, but feels more responsive than the DVD, and the interaction sound effects are present. It feels like some of the button presses are timed a little differently to the original arcade, but it's still pretty playable despite looking like a collection of giant pixels half the time. Overall, I'd say try the laserdisc version in MAME, as long as you can overlook the interlacing lines, as the background grid and shapes of the DVD and Windows versions often make the game look a bit odd. It makes more sense on a black background, like it did in the arcade. If you enjoyed this comparison of Time Traveler, then give it a like, or subscribe, leave a comment and ring the bell, so that you know when I've uploaded something new. And join me next time for a classic puzzle game that's one part Tetris, one part columns.